To create a skill, we need to create a couple of projects. First, we'll go to AWS and create a Lambda function. Then we'll call that Lambda function from developer within Amazon, which is a separate location. But we'll walk through that. We'll be supported by using a template that's available within GitHub that has been put up there by the Alexa team. So let's go ahead and get started by navigating to AWS. And what we're looking for is the compute section under services. So I'm going to go ahead and select here the compute section, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to Lambda. Now we're going to simply create a new function, and we're going to select a template. There's already a template here for Alexa, and as you can see here, there are a number of choices, and we want to select the one that says facts. Once you've done that, we are going to go ahead and select on this outline on the left, and we want to select the skills kit. Once we've done that, we click on the next button, and here will be the name that you want to give it. In my case, I will call it just the facts. I'll then scroll down. We don't need the help. I'll then scroll down, and as you can see here, we get some boilerplate, or we get a sample of code. We're going to leave it as is. We're not going to modify it. We're going to go ahead with the default handler, which has already been defined as part of this template, and we're going to choose an existing role. Now, I've predefined one previously. If you do not have one that you've created already, you can go with the basic skills permissions or something that has the word simple. That is usually the easiest way to get your permissions right for a first demo. Now I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you can see here that it is asking me to confirm the settings that we did. We pretty much went with the defaults with the exception of just naming the skill. I'm going to go ahead and create the function. And as you can see there, it tells me, congratulations, your function has been created, and I can go ahead and take a look at the code or configuration or anything else. Now the next step, as I mentioned, is to go to developer. This is different than AWS. So I'm going to enter here developer.amazon.com. And once I do, you can see there that we have the option to log in. I should be able to just sign in. And here is the console you'll see once you do. I'm going to then go ahead and select the Alexa tab. And once you do, we're going to select the Get Started Skill Kit. Once we do, you can see there that I've created a couple of them beforehand. I'm going to go ahead and say Add New Skill. Now once you do, you can see here that we have a number of fields. We're going to leave the first two as is, and then here we're simply going to call this facts. We'll call this one the same. If we scroll down, we will leave the settings as they are and click on save. We can then move to the next page, and as you can see, we're moving through a set of options here. We have skill, interaction model, configuration, and tests. We will only need to go all the way to tests because at that point we can actually test the skill. Now we need to go ahead and reference the sample code that I mentioned. We need to get our intent schema, and for that we'll go ahead and go to the Alexa project within GitHub. And here you can see the address is just GitHub followed by the name, and below it you can see that there's a number of sample projects. We're going to go ahead and look for the one that has fact and Node.js, as you can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. We will then select the speech assets and the intent schema, and we'll go ahead and select this, copy it, go back to our project, and we're going to go ahead and paste this in. We can ignore the following section since it's optional, and then we're going to paste in some sample utterances. And if we go back up, we can see here that there's one for English. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing again, copy and paste, and paste that in. Now we're going to go ahead and save. And once we finish this, we'll go ahead and click on Next. We'll now select an endpoint, and here is where, if you're not using AWS Lambda, you can have the code call your own endpoint. And we'll do another example after this video to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and select here AWS. I will then select North America. And here is a point that you might be at first confused by. What this is actually asking for is information from our Lambda function. And if we go back to it, this is the very first thing that we did, and we take a look at the function policy below it, you can see here that we have the name of the resource plus the name of the function plus where it's running, in this case USDs1. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that information, and I'm just going to paste it into that field. Now once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and go with the defaults for the rest, and I will simply click on Next. And as you can see there, I am actually ready for testing at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and I have Alexa right next to me, and I'm going to go ahead and call the skill that we just created. Now, one of the tricky parts that first got me was that following the name, and I won't say the name because it'll activate, you need to say start. So you'll hear me saying three things: the name, start, and then facts. So, Alexa, start facts.
Here's your fact. Venus rotates counterclockwise, possibly because of a collision in the past with an asteroid.
So that was pretty cool. First try, it worked. So as you can see, it's not too bad. There's a couple of different pieces. As you saw and I mentioned, you can also call an endpoint. So this is a very basic sample on just how to hook up the different services that you need to use and some sample code to get you started.